All right, so welcome to this short little demo on just how to actually do a regression inside of Google Sheets. All right, it's very similar in Excel, slight differences, but since most of you use Google Sheets, this is what we'll use. So first things first, here's some data. So it's the same data that we've been using in class. As usual, it's always a good idea to look at the scatter plot first. So if you're trying to make a scatter plot in Google Sheets, really simple, highlight the data, all right, including the labels, go to Insert, Chart, and it should recognize that this is like scatter plot data, and it should just give you the scatter plot right away. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, you can always go over here to Chart Type and change the chart type, but here's our scatter plot. We can see that the data does look linear. All right, there's no obvious curved or exponential pattern, so that's a good sign. And we've kind of done that check just to make sure that we're not going astray. So I'm going to delete this because again, it was really just kind of that visual check to make sure that we're okay. But that's how we make our scatter plot. Now, to run the actual regression, you're going to have to go to Addons, and you might have to click Get Addons. If you do, you're searching for XML analysis tool pack. Now it's not showing up because it's already installed on mine, but it's supposed to be installed already. All right. And some students have had to like click on Get Add-ons, and then when they go back to this menu, it's suddenly there. But you're looking for this XLMiner analysis tool pack. And again, you might have to click this once or twice and then go back to the menu, but it should be there. It should be installed for every student. All right. Now, once we go to this, if we go to Start, all right, it'll open up an entire menu over here on the side of different options. And the one that we're using for right now is linear regression. So you're going to see an input Y range. You're going to see an input X range. Now, the way this works is you have to start by highlighting. So you highlight first. So these are my X values. And then after you've highlighted, you click in the box, and then it'll fill in. All right, I can do the same thing for the Ys. I highlight first. After I've highlighted, I click in the Y box, and it fills in. Now for me, I highlighted these labels up top, so I'm going to check the labels box. If I didn't have labels or I didn't highlight them, I would leave that box unchecked. But I have. Next is the output range. This is where you want your results to show up. So, this box right here is fine for me. So I'm going to click here and then just click in there. And that means that my results are going to show up starting in box F1. And then generally in this class, we're always going to want a residual plot. So we can click that. If you want to see the individual residuals, you can also check this box, but that may or may not be necessary depending on what you're doing. But this will just give you the individual residuals. This will give you the residual plot. All right, so if I click OK, all right, you're going to see that all of that suddenly pops up on my screen. So here's my residuals. All right, so they're saying for observation 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 15. This is what was predicted by the equation. This was the residual from that prediction. There's my residual plot right here. And you can see that the points are scattered above and below that 0 line in sort of a random distribution, which is great. That's what we're looking for. No pattern inside of our residual plot. All right, so that's good there. So I'm going to just delete this to get it out of the way. But again, this is what we're looking for, is sort of no pattern to our data. And then we have our output. All right, now we just saw this in sort of our notes video, but let's review it quick. All right, this right here are your coefficients for the equation. All right, so if you were trying to write your equation, you would use these coefficients. And sometimes you might have to like drag this column to make it bigger to see everything, but these are your coefficients. All right, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff over here. All right, you don't have to worry about anything in the middle here. All right, let's just widen this a little bit. Your standard error, this is your standard deviation of the residuals. All right, so that's the standard deviation of the residuals. All right, this is the R squared value. Again, adjusted R squares for multivariable regression. We're not doing that. And then this right here, is sort of your correlation. It's not your correlation. It is the square root of this number right here. Actually, no, in this case, it is your correlation. Sorry, I was thinking of a different problem. Your slope is positive, so your correlation is positive. So you're good here. So this would be your correlation if you're wondering what your correlation is. Normally, you do have to make sure, though, that you have the right sign on this. So yeah, just be careful with this because it's always going to show up as positive. And then you have to look to the slope to see whether it's actually positive or negative. So in our case, the slope is positive, so we're fine here. But if the slope had been negative, you would have to recognize that the correlation is actually the negative of this number, not the positive. But this is basically the information that we need. Here's your equation. Here's the standard deviation of your residuals. Here's the R² value. Now for this one, this is our correlation. Just make sure that normally you're looking at the sign of the slope to see whether it should be positive or negative. All right, so let me just run through one more of these just to make sure that you're good on it, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to delete all of these and then go down to this one right here. So again, just more data here that is pretty much just made up, but you should always start with a scatter plot. So insert chart. Okay, scatter plot looks pretty linear, so we're good there. We're all set. Next, we're going to go over here to linear regression. I'm going to delete out these old ones. All right, and we start by highlighting. So highlight first. So let's just pretend this one right here is our X. So I'm going to highlight it and then click in the input X box. We'll say this one is our Y. So I'm going to highlight it, click in the input Y box. Again, I have labels, so I'm going to have that box checked. All this other stuff you don't really need to worry about. I don't need to see the residuals this time, so I'm going to uncheck the box. I do have to specify where I want it to show up, so I'll have it show up right next to it. So here in D20, and then I do want the residual plot. All right, so again, when I hit OK, all right, it's going to expand the sheet so that it's got room for everything. There's my residual plot. All right, I'm seeing a random scattering of the points, which is what I was hoping for, so that's good. All right, so I'm just going to delete this now. I've got my output. Again, this is what I would be using for my equation. All right, this is what I would be using for my standard deviation of residuals. All right, they're calling it standard error. All right, I use R², not adjusted R². All right, this would be my correlation, but again, be careful. You have to pay attention to the slope of your equation. If your slope is positive, then you're good to go. So we're good to go here. If this slope had been negative, I just would have had to remember that that's actually a negative correlation. All right, and all this other stuff, it has meaning. It's important, but you don't have to worry about it for where we are right now. All right. So I hope this was helpful. Again, it's not very difficult to do. You just have to kind of know where things are. And if you're having any problems actually getting this add-on onto your computer, let me know and we can try to figure that out. But it is supposed to be installed for every student. All right. Have a great day. See you later.